If you guys saw my review of Super from a month or so ago, you know James Gunn is someone I have loads of adoration for and whose movies I've really connected with over the years, so emphasis on loads. While I do love comic books and graphic novels, most of the comics I've read have been stuff like Jason Aaron's Scalped or From Hell or Paper Girls. Harrow County is really good. I'm not exclusive to superheroes when it comes to comics, and I'm also far more partial to Marvel than I am DC, especially when it comes to cinematic universes, but damn it, James Gunn runs DC Studios, so oh shit, look at that, now I'm a DC guy, who'd have thunk it? Listen, I'll get right to it. Superman is the most comic book movie I've seen since I don't know when. I went into Superman knowing James Gunn's work and listening to countless hours of him talking about his punk band, his novel, his sobriety, all of this stuff, so yes, I'm very biased. But with all that being said, I am still confidently going to explain why it's fantastic, okay? This iteration of Superman and the introduction to this new DC cinematic universe as a whole greatly impressed me. Not only is this our first look at Superman in the DCU, but Gunn is also going to be introducing the world of the DCU for the first time in the same movie, and that's a tall order. Creature Commandos was animated. Peacemaker just wasn't super concerned with this DCU as a whole given when it came out. And I can't get over how easily Gunn introduces us to everything here. The film opens with a text scroll similar to other sci-fi epics of history like Star Wars or Second Example. We read, and I'm paraphrasing, 3 centuries ago this happened, 3 decades ago this happened, 3 months ago, 3 days ago, 3 minutes ago, Superman lost his first fight. This intro had me grinning because I think it's so smart of Gunn to skip the origin story, skip Krypton, not only because it saves time, but because in a way it puts us in the POV of Superman as a character to follow, which is something I've had a hard time dealing with before. The biggest issue for me when it comes to Superman movies is usually his power level being so insanely high and godlike that it's hard to relate, especially if the filmmaker is primarily interested in that messianic, overpowered Ubermensch thing. That's why I didn't like the Snyderverse Superman that much. It wasn't Henry Cavill's fault. I thought he was a pretty fitting Superman, but there was a fundamental disconnect between the character I personally understand him to be and the Superman in those Snyder movies. Superman is so happy to help people and to be kind. He smiles and he looks you in the eye. He cares about you. That's the thing about this Superman. I understand him. Gunn managed to make a Superman movie with its big beating heart on its sleeve, so earnest it couldn't be anything other than corny. Gunn spent probably a couple $1,000s of the budget or more, probably, I don't know how that works, to show Superman save a squirrel, okay? He's the most good-natured and moral superhero, and I just think it's refreshing to finally have a modern, on-screen adaptation worthy of the name. Starting the movie with Superman on the back foot, having just lost his first fight off-screen, it's surprising and interesting. If you've seen the trailers, this is the scene we've all watched. He calls for Krypto. Krypto helps him back to the Fortress of Solitude, where he's healed and repaired by sunlight. Then he leaves to rejoin the fray and continue his duty. A duty that Superman and Clark Kent have sworn their life to uphold. Protect people, help people, defend people. His parents may have given him that directive, but it's Clark who has grown up not resenting that duty or struggling with that duty morally. We can clearly see that Superman operates from a place of deep compassion and empathy. Even giant kaijus are misunderstood creatures to him, and he wants to do the right thing by the city and by the kaiju. Superman feels like Gunn's superhero magnum opus. Gunn has made nothing but comic book movies since 2011, if you can even count Super, which I do. And as I said in my video, Gunn is not selling out by only making superhero movies for the last 15 years. He has been sharpening his skills, honing his craft. I think Gunn's craft is superhero storytelling, and the sandbox of Metropolis and the rest of the DCU as well feels unexpectedly perfect for Gunn's entire toolbox to fill the screen. People were worried about this movie feeling overstuffed with characters, seeing Mr. Terrific, Guy Gardner, Hawkgirl, the Kaiju, the whole Daily Planet, Metamorpho, etc. But here, my friends, is where I'm going to say something that is a little crazy, but this channel is where I glaze, and that's what NerdFat means. We glaze, I glaze. The way Gunn is establishing his DC universe is to just pretend it's already established. An average moviegoer interested in seeing Superman will most likely know some of these characters, and the ones you may not know, you'll grow to understand. That's what a good screenwriter is capable of doing. Show, don't tell, and Superman shows us a ton. So does the movie feel like it's overstuffed with spectacle and different power sets and colorful vistas and bizarre CGI fest pocket dimensions? Yes. And it's exactly what I needed from this genre right now. Here's some random stuff I wanted to say from my notes. The core conflict of Lex Luthor versus Superman was translated incredibly well, again, without any long backstory. We get it. Brains vs. Brawn was shown on screen really well, where by the end, Lex is really literalizing the role of puppet master, and it all makes perfect sense when he's like, 1A, 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 and shouting out these moves for his puppet to do. It was a perfect encapsulation of Brains vs. Brawn, and I love that. David Cornsweet is triumphant as Clark Kent. That's the first word that came to mind to describe him. I didn't know who he was until Twisters, and I was just like, that's Superman. Okay. All right. But the more I thought about it, the more I do think it should be a relatively unknown actor, or at least not already an established star. He's charismatic as all hell, and I think he's given a lot to work with on the page. He gets to have really high energy monologues and loud line delivery. He's given so many close-ups and reaction shots to civilians in danger or his friends. We spend a lot of time just on his face, and I think that was a brilliant decision. I couldn't imagine anyone else in the role after seeing this. Rachel Brosnahan as Lois Lane is so great. Her and Cornsweet have so much chemistry, and she was such an equal to him as well. The 10-minute scene of her interviewing him as Superman sets up the entire dynamic, not only between them, but between him and the world around him. Dynamite scene. It's some of the best acting in the movie by far. In a really dynamic approach to this Superman story, they're not introducing Lois and Clark meeting each other. They're in like a situationship, like a 3-month thing where they have feelings for each other, but they're unsure about it. And we missed where she finds out that he's Superman. We don't see that. I thought it was great. I think it's really inspired, and I'm down for them. I get so attached to these characters throughout the course of the movie. I loved it. Also, this is really specific and personal just for me, but I never imagined in my wildest fantasy that a crazy one-er, highly choreographed, slow-mo James Gunn fight scene would be set to 5 years' time by Noah and the Whale. Great song for my childhood. Great Mr. Terrific fight scene. Me and my best friend went and saw the movie. When that song came on, we both turned to each other like, what is going on? Anyway, Mr. Terrific, amazing fight scene. I love that guy. Swag the f*** out. And I already mentioned this earlier in the review, but I knew this was my favorite modern Superman movie when he saved that squirrel. That told me everything I needed to know. I thought it was such a bold decision and makes the movie's attempt at making like kindness punk rock make sense, where it's like, yo, this was like $1 million to animate this entire thing of him saving the squirrel. I just thought it was really cool. Sorry to put so much emphasis on the squirrel, but yeah, that's my bad. Anyway, it's not that big of a deal, but I just thought it was cool. Listen, I loved Thunderbolts as much as the next guy, but that was like a sweet, succulent cherry on top of the iDubbbz Max Mofo hair cake. But this is coming out the gate swinging harder than I really expected it to, and it's all the better for it. Superman is so earnest and so good-natured and so introspective. The film does not alienate Superman, but does as much work as it possibly can to humanize him. This brash, pop, maximalist comic book blockbuster also has super open themes about treating the world and those around you with dignity and kindness. It's about international conflict, familial legacy, dog ownership. It feels like a short run of 3 or 4 issues compiled into one volume that you pull off the shelf at a comic book shop. You crack it open, it's got a new writer, a new artist, a new colorist, a new letterer, and it offers a new take on these eternal characters that keep persisting decade after decade. Jason Aaron's Thor run, Matt Fraction's Hawkeye run, or funny enough, Tom King's Supergirl run, which is what the next big DC movie is going to be based on. Which, by the way, the pre-credit stinger of us finally meeting Supergirl, which Crypto belongs to Supergirl, spoilers, sorry, that's what the deal is, and having her be drunk and a party girl who goes to drink on red planets because you can get drunk there, perfectly sets up Woman of Tomorrow. That's where the comic book starts. So I just thought it was really smart and got me really excited and wasn't fan servicey. It felt very intentional and connected to the rest of the movie. Thought it was brilliant. Once again, Sorry to be redundant. You can see the pieces clicking together all throughout the movie for what this extended universe will really look like. We also get a quick cameo of Peacemaker, but unfortunately we got no cameos or nothing about Mike Flanagan's Clayface movie, which is too bad. I'm super excited for that. Anyway, comic book movies are in need of great filmmakers who understand the source material and care deeply about it and are inspired to tell stories with these legendary characters and represent them to the best of their creative abilities. And James Gunn's creative ability is on another fucking level than what we've been given for the last few years, maybe even longer. Superman feels like a quintessential superhero film. And in 2025, it's so cool to have a superhero movie not need to like go R-rated or be edgy or be adult in order to be unique and stand out. For a while, that was really the only way to do so. This is a Superman movie I would take my kids to if I had or wanted kids. I did wear my socks to the movies, if that counts. It was laundry day. I took myself to it, and by the time was playing over the credits, I had the exact same content, comforted, satisfied smile on my face that Superman does laying back in that chair. Fuck yeah. I love this movie. Go see it. It's amazing, but it does feel like a Saturday morning cartoon, and that's up to you if you want to like it or not. People that hate on it, I can do nothing but not worry about it. So any flaws or plot holes or things you didn't like, I do understand, especially people who just don't have a palate or like have a distaste for superhero stuff and what it's done to Hollywood or whatever reason you could think of to not like comic books. That's just your thing. That's your perspective and your experience. I love comic books. That's just a thing I've always loved. I love comic book filmmaking. I think it's a unique style of filmmaking. So mileage may vary. It's kind of an acquired taste. You know, I can't convince you to like superheroes, so how am I going to convince you that this movie's good? It's two different mediums of storytelling that are forming this hybrid, new, incredibly pop maximalist genre. That's why Scorsese described it as a roller coaster, you know? Sorry, if some of my favorite directors are directing giant roller coasters I can go pay $20 to see any day of the week, sue me. I don't know. That's great. I would love that. I love roller coasters. Who wouldn't want to watch a roller coaster? What are you, pussy? I'm JK, but anyway, hate it or love it, I loved it. But thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe if you want at all. Helps me a lot, and thank you. Have a nice rest of your day. Later.